This evening, this talk is called On the Beat from Bloomsbury to Fitzrovia. And so over to you now, Chris.
Marvellous. Let's get rid of this stall. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Ruth, for the introduction. Thank you, Tudor, and your team for setting the room up here. Thank you, Malcolm, for the wine and the minced pies. All you lovely people at home, you don't know what you've missed. I'm just amazed how many people have come out tonight and braved the elements. It's so good. I can't believe this is my fourth time. The first two times it was on Zoom, and the previous time and tonight, here we are in the real sort of seat of learning in the in Camden Borough. So you can't choose for a better place, really. So normally I've always, in the past, I've always come to a place twice, once to enjoy myself and once to apologise. But I think I'm sort of breaking all the rules now by sort of keep coming back, and it's lovely to be asked back. It really is. But tonight I'm going to promise you a night of fun and enjoyment. How about that? Right. But first of all, you've got to listen to my presentation. So I'm a Camden walking tour guide, and this time last year I put together a walk that I wanted to be on the edge of in the 1700s. London was sort of expanding, and you could look left and you see sort of buildings all over the place. You see right, and it's all fields. So we're going to sort of walk along the edge of the when the field stopped and the building started. So that'll be a bit of fun. So I put this walk together. I've done it a few times. People seem to have enjoyed it, which is quite good. And I thought, I wonder if it's going to work if I put it on Zoom and we can do it for a Zoom presentation. And tonight, you're the first people to see this. So if it all goes horribly wrong, I hope it's going to last an hour. But I don't really know. So we'll see how we get on. And I love this photograph here because I did this in early January of this year. I thought I'll just take a picture just in case I've got to do a presentation. And it seems to work. It's start of the festive season now. So there we are. So I've got a whole love of the Bloomsbury area. I've got a love of Fitzrovia area. Why? Because 50 years ago, I was a bobby on the beat. I was at Holborn Police Station just up the road. And I know some of you are looking at me thinking, no, he's too old to have been a bobby on the beat. But here is living proof. At the tender age of 19, there we are, resplendent beard and moustache. And so 50 odd years later, there I am. Now that's outside King's Cross Station. And I was new tour guides with one or two guiding skills. I don't know why they asked me, but there we are. So tonight's walk, let's have a little look. So we can actually do a guided walk tonight from the comfort of your chairs. So there's our map of central London. That's the area where we're going to be sort of walking. So those of you who are not familiar with the Bloomsbury or Fitzrovia area, that's where we're going to be going. And this is a little close up. So the start is at the top, and we're sort of going to be walking in a bit of a westerly direction, a little bit south above where Oxford Street is. So that's the format of the evening. And you could say for a walk like this is another guided tour gone west. So, but we got to start off at a focal point where people know for the start of the walk. And one of the greatest places that I like to start a walk is outside Russell Square Tube Station. It's not too busy. There's a little doorway, the brown doorway on the left-hand side, a good starting off place. You can do your safety talk and everything else. So I've got to keep you guys safe tonight. So no falling out of your chairs, all right? I love this station, one of 50 by Leslie Green. It's a steel girder and these lovely ox blood red tiles. This design is replicated right throughout London on 50 stations. And the glass windows above for office space to rent out, and also for the lift mechanisms and things. But when you go inside the station, you can see a frieze there, and it's green and it's black. and it's white. And there's a reason for that, because when you go down the stairs, down the lift, there it is. It's replicated again. So there's the station sign. That's a better picture. And that is unique for the Leslie Green stations, because each one has got its own colour scheme. Each one has got its own pattern. Compare that with 2 stops down the line, Covent Garden, very similar design there. Let's go down to platform level, different design, different colouring. 1906, when it all started up, not everybody could read or write, but people knew their colours and they knew where to get off the train. So that's why it was done. So we're going to start our walk now. We've had a look at Russell Square. We're going to start walking west. We're in Bernard Street at the moment. You can see a little black car on the right-hand side. We're going to do a right there, and we're just going to have a little shimmy up there. On a guided walk, you can't do that, because one of the golden rules is that you can't double back on yourself. But when you're doing a presentation, you can do anything. So we're going to go to the black car now, and we're going to have a look at Herbrand Street. We're going to walk up Herbrand Street, named after Herbrand Russell, born in the mid-1800s, survived until 1940. The 11th Duke of Bedford, would you know? Part of the Russell family, the landowners there. Did he sit at home counting all his money? No, he served as the aide-de-camp, which is like a personal assistant to the Viceroy of India. How about that? King Edward the Seventh, George V. And if that's not enough, he became the first mayor of the new borough of Holborn in 1900. And the thing that I like, he was much involved in animal conservation. And he is credited with saving the Miu deer, M-I-L-U, Miu deer, from extinction. The David Attenborough of his time. And he's got a street named after him. That's not bad. Let's have a little shimmy up Herbrand Street. There's two buildings I'd like you to have a look at. This lovely Art Deco place, absolutely brilliant, isn't it? This was the Daimler Hire showroom in the 1930s. And when you look at this little bit on the right-hand side, this sort of helter-skelter design there, yeah, you've got your Daimler on the top floor, and you've got to negotiate this helter-skelter, this beautiful car, and if you've been on this helter-skelter national car park, you haven't got a lot of room to play with. So you eventually come out at street level, and they've kept it. It's a listed building, and I like that. Further up Herbrand Street, almost at the top, we've got this strange little building here, just before you get to Tavistock Place. And let's do a full frontal here. We go back to the First World War. London was being bombed, and people tend to forget that. It started off with Zeppelins with baskets, and the enemy were chucking bombs out of the basket and landing indiscriminately. And they got a bit more sophisticated as the First World War went on. And there were casualties, there were injuries, there were fatalities. We needed to have some sort of ambulance service. And this was one of the first ambulance stations in the UK. Really good. And so they built this tiny ambulance station, and yes, dwarfed by the big buildings either side. They wanted men to man that. Where were the men? Fighting. They were away. So it's the first ambulance station run and managed entirely by women. Hooray! Gender equality has arrived, and it worked, and it's still going strong now. I remember 50 years ago, at 3 o'clock in the morning, sort of a night like this, freezing cold, raining, and I'm looking for a little bit of sanctuary. And you knock on the door and say to the staff inside, "Is everything okay?" And they say, "Oh yes, it's okay. Officer, would you like to come in and have a cup of tea?" How lovely is that? So I've got fond memories of Bloomsbury Ambulance Station. Let's go back to where we started. Okay, so we got Herbrand Street going the other side of Bernard Street here, and the building in front was the Hotel Russell, now renamed the Fitzroy Kimpton Hotel. I mean, what a strange name, but there you go. We're going to do a left here, and the first thing we see there is the Horse Hospital. Yes, James Burton, prolific builder in the Bloomsbury area. 1797, just before the 1800s going to start. And horses played a huge role in getting people around London. And some of them got ill, some of them got injured. And here's the hospital for him. 24 horses on 2 levels, ramps and struts. It's now an independent arts theatre, so you can go in and sort of see some of the ramps still there, and it's been retained. And that's at the start of Colonnade. And you look down the Colonnade, and the first thing you see is a huge, great queue of people. So part of the old hospital is now a cafe. And the reason why people are queuing up is because they serve massive donuts and I've got to say it properly, cinnamon buns. There we are, I'll be practicing that all day, cinnamon buns. Yeah, and in the summer, that queue goes all the way around into Guildford Street. It's incredible. Going down this colonnade, it's a lovely back mews, and the buildings on the right, they're stables. You can almost imagine they're stable doors, and there's living quarters above. And the last walk I did a couple of Sundays ago, there was one chap on the walk, and he said, "Do you know my great grandmother lived in one of those rooms above the stables?" And we tried to sort of work out which one. I thought, how lovely that is for this chap, and you should see it. And further down the left-hand side, there were shops, but one of the shops became a library. We like libraries, don't we? And they had lectures. They had lectures from Peter Roget, no less, as in Roget's thesaurus. Wow, I bet he wasn't lost for words. And we got some barrels on the left-hand side. What all those about? The pub is not called Open for Business. The pub is called The Friend at Hand. The great poet T.S. Eliot, 100 years ago, he used to enjoy a pint in there. And it's featured in his book of poems, Old Possum's Book for Practical Cats. Inspired Andrew Lloyd Webber to write the musical Cats. That was on for 20 years at the New London Theatre. How about that? Personal memories about this, because it was a great meeting place for coppers and nurses. And when you think about it, Bloomsbury area, it was full of nurses. You got the Royal Free Hospital, you've got the Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital, UCH, the Middlesex Hospital, all full of student nurses, all about my age. Very easy to make friends with a nurse. Coppers and nurses getting together. Very difficult to maintain a friendship because men, especially policemen, were banned from going in the nurses' home, and women, especially nurses, were banned from going in the police section house. This is way back in the early 1970s, you know, how times have changed. And so one of the great meeting points was, let's meet in the Friend at Hand. Great, okay, can we do it tomorrow? No, I'm on late shift. What about the next one? No, I'm on nights. And so eventually you get to a meeting point. Now, the Friend at Hand back in the 70s was a bit of a den of iniquity. The lights were very low. And you needed an axe. Everybody smoked, so you're going through, you're hacking your way through the smoke, and you're trying to recognise the nurse that you met 2 weeks ago in nurse's uniform. Now looking absolutely lovely. You know, what chance have I got? You know, so although it was a good meeting place, I'm not sure how many relationships carried on in the Friend at Hand. Another story for another day. You have to come on one of my walks. I can tell you a few more secrets about that. Right, okay, we're now going into Guildford Street. So we're going to carry on here. We got to the corner here, and we can see Russell Square Gardens in the background here. But we need to cross the road for a very special stop. We're going to stop just about here, and we're going to stop just by this tree, because there was a pop group that came down from Liverpool in the early 1960s.
The Beatles.
The Beatles, of course, it's the Beatles. Yeah, there they are, the very Beatles, and that's why they're. We're going to stop on this very spot here. Now the story goes that their first single, "Love Me Do," in October 1962. Some of you might remember "Love Me Do." That great song reached number 17 in the chart. 17 in the chart. Nobody had ever heard of the Beatles. That's why. So 3 months later, they tried again. "Please Please Me," another fabulous record. And they think it went to number 1, but when you start reading it, it's number 2. It reached number 2, and so the musical papers, things like Melody Maker, New Musical Express, these charts are all independent, and so the one that they really went on was New Musical Express charts, and Please Please Me only reached number 2. Oh dear, never got a number 1. They were knocked off number 1 spot by Frank Highfield of all places. Yeah, incredible, isn't it? Anyway, they tried again, and 3 months later, it worked. It really worked, and hopefully it's going to work, because I'm going to give you a bit of music now. What's this one? What's the track called? Everybody, I'll take you along with love from me to you. Well, let it go. And yes, so they wanted some publicity, so they got them down from Liverpool. They got the Photoshop. They were staying in the President Hotel, and there they are on that very spot where we're doing our walks. Look, you can see the buildings on the left-hand side. It's exactly the same. You can see the buildings on the right. John, Ringo, Paul, George, John holding his coat. I wonder if that'll start up again. Right, okay, there we are. A little bit of a musical interlude there. Well done for getting love from me to you. Okay, so there we are. John is holding his raincoat. I wonder why. We'll come on to that in a minute. But when I do a stop there, everybody wants their picture taken of where the photograph is. The lady on the left, believe it or not, she was my minder at the Bloomsbury Festival last year. She's not standing in a hole. She's an absolutely lovely lady. And then another group of ladies that they wanted a Beatles walk round, and so I gave them a Beatles walk. It takes ages. That stop takes ages there. I do like maximum 5 minutes for the stop. So yeah, the Beatles on that very street corner there. More of the Beatles a bit later on this street corner here. So the start of Southampton Road, and there's something on the pavement I want to show you. Yes, I've heard the murmurs. There we go. The Turkish Bars Arcade. Why is that still there? 1911, the original Imperial Hotel, complete with its own arcade. Very popular for men and women to go in the Turkish bars. Not at the same time, I'll have you know. And then the baths disappeared in the mid-1960s when they did away with the old original hotel. They put up this new sort of monstrosity, which has lasted until fairly recently. They pulled it down again. They start all over again. I was told it was going to be ready to run last Easter. It's not. Hopefully this coming Easter it'll be open for business again. Is there a Turkish bath? No. So it's gone. But the sign lives on still, and that's really good. Talking of Turkey, Turkish bars and everything, we're now going to cross the road and we're going to look inside Russell Square. But on the street corner, on the other side of the road, was this gentleman here about 150, 200 years ago. This is a Turkish rhubarb seller. How about that? You don't get too many of those about, do you? And I don't know if he was a Turkish man selling rhubarb, or whether he was a man selling Turkish rhubarb. I do not know. But there he was, a character. So he's not there anymore. So we have to move on. Let's move the pointer out of the way. Right, okay. We're going into Russell Square. A word of warning when you go into Russell Square, because this area was really once a swampy woodland where wolves freely roamed. Once known as Long Fields. Regarded as a place of unruly behaviour, I'll have you know. Eloquently described in the books as having, here we go, swarms of loose broils, and is the cause of various kinds of mischief. My goodness me. I think that's why on that sign there, they've got no ball games. So stop violent games of cricket going on. And the fountain works again, inside, really good. I had to do a well-being walk at the end of the summer. And they wanted the fountain because that's my starting point. The Association of Bloomsbury Squares and Gardens, they do well-being walks, last an hour. Mine are always on a Tuesday, starts at 1 o'clock. If you go to any of the squares and the gardens, there's always a sign outside when these walks are on, all by our Camden Tour Guides. Brilliant. they got the fountain working, because this was the meeting point here. So we had a nice little fountain there. It was still railed off there, but the other day everything works. How about that? They've lost the railings, and everything's fine again now, which is lovely. And I think Russell Square over the past couple of months or so, it is lovely. That's sort of a couple of late summer pictures. This is the autumn where you're starting to get the carpet of leaves there. That's during World War II, when you're growing for victory, and the railings have disappeared for the war effort. But so, yeah, same sort of picture. We keep walking along the north side of Russell Square, and we get this lovely sign, this Borough Camden sign. These are all sort of notable people in and around Russell Square. If you do a stop there, it takes you about half an hour. So you have to sort of point to one picture and then move them on fast. Otherwise, they just you sort of lose your crowd a bit. That's the one I want to concentrate on now. And here's the Beatles again. Yes. Another Beatles photo, same photographer, same day, same clothes, but look what John's wearing. It started to pour a rain, just like tonight. He's put his raincoat on. So there we are. So you can see before and after. So let's leave the Beatles as they are for a little while. And we now leave the Square Gardens, and we find the cab shelter. Wow, what a lovely building. Yeah. Listed building, been around since 1901, will you believe? A Victorian institution, and they're built for the drivers of horse-drawn Hansom cabs, and it still stands there. Only 13 remain in London, a Grade 2 listed building. But what's behind that building? What's to do with this lovely sort of Jordan sort of terrace property here? Well, before I tell you the story, I have two fears in life. My first fear is flying. I hate flying. To celebrate 50 years of wedded bliss early this year, my wife said, let's go to New Zealand. So for 13 hours, I was flying. I was gripping the seat in front for 13 hours. Finally got there. My second biggest fear is dentists. I can't stand dentists. I was a child of the 1950s. And sweet teeth and everything. I've got a face full of filling here and everything else. And all the butchers were males, and they were real butchers. They weren't dentists at all. So something had to give. And the blue plaque here says absolutely everything you need to know. Lillian Lindsay, the first woman dentist to qualify in Britain, lived here and worked here. There was a great prejudice against ladies wanting to become dentists. Really difficult career path, and she was a feisty lady. The Royal College of Surgeons refused to admit women onto the medical courses. When Lillian Lindsay applied to study at the National Dental Hospital in London, she was interviewed on the pavement outside, and it was terrible. And her application was rejected. But she ended up as the first female president of the British Dental Association. And that's the lady. What a lovely, kindly lady. Is she going to hurt you when you open your mouth? No. So, and again, sort of gender equality. I always choose to have a lady dentist now, and it's all due to Lillian Lindsay. God bless you. What about the building next door? Look at that. The amazing wedding cake here. Senate House, the administrative centre of the University of London, designed by Charles Holden. The chap who designed many underground stations in the 20s and 30s. Also their HQ at 55 Broadway. This thing took 5 years to build. The second highest building in London after St Paul's Cathedral. Used by the Ministry of Information during World War II. Keep calm and carry on. That's where it came from. And what I like about this building, very tall, but very thin. So I'm standing at the front door here. And I reckon that I've measured my paces, 20 paces. I'm through the front and out the back. And it's lovely. It's lovely when you go inside, because you can do a little left shimmy. Obviously knew I was coming. They put some red tape up. And that's the way into the library there. And that's the back view, say for argument's sake. So we're going to come here, and I want people to turn right at this point. Again, we're sort of going to do a little bit of doubling up. And I want to look at this building here. From the road, you've got this lovely sort of carpet of leaves. Yeah, a real autumnal thing there. Now, some of you might remember a year ago, fabulous speaker here, my pre-Christmas festival spot, and Joanna Burke. What a brilliant lady! And she taught us all about Birkbeck College, and that inspired me to include Birkbeck College on my walking tour. So this was founded by George Birkbeck 200 years ago. So we've got an anniversary here, and it educated men and women. A mechanics institution. Mechanics in those days were a term for people that work with their hands. Really good. And it flourished into becoming polytechnics and so on and so on. Became part of University of London in 1920 and then moved to Mallet Street. Really good. So we're going to double back ourselves. We're going to look at these gates on the left-hand side now. Now, people walk past these gates without realising what they are. This is Mallet Street Gardens. And the closer look here, so it's a sunken garden. It was once sort of part of the private houses in Gow Street. And now it's open to all, but only during the summer weekdays between 11 and 3. So you've got to be a bit sort of swift if you want to have a look round it. And there's a sunken garden. Why is there a sunken garden? Because the earth there was really good for making bricks, for building squares like Bedford Square. What a fabulous square here. Described as an intact, inform and perfect square with such consistent uniformity. The regularity and symmetry of all four sides with a central building faced with stone. And you can sort of see that's the north side there. On the left, we've got Bedford Square Gardens, and they remain private, owned and managed by the Bedford Estate. A nice big sign there to say keep out. Apart from the annual London Open Gardens weekend, you can't get in there. However, when I was doing another well-being walk, the lady gatekeeper sort of saw I was doing a recce, and she said, "Well, do you want to come in and start the walk inside?" I thought, "Oh, yes, please." So we actually got inside the gardens there, and it's really lovely, and a little sort of oasis of peace and tranquility. So if you come into the London Open Gardens, make sure you go into Bedford Square. A lovely sort of little shelter there. You see the people behind on the right hand of the picture. They're playing croquet. I mean, how lovely is that? So back to the buildings. So that's the centrepiece. The lovely sort of white bit in the middle, and then you've got the typical sort of Georgian building sort of going either side. Let's look at this one here. Leverton House. So Thomas Leverton. He's depending on what book you read. And I'm very careful because the people have got far greater knowledge than me. He's been described as the architect, builder, and designer. He took up the building lease for number 13 right here in 1775. Number 13, that's lucky for him, isn't it? Whilst the rest of the square was being built. So he didn't have too much of a commute, did he? And when you get a closer look at the front door and the surrounding here, now this is code stone. So you've got this sort of fan thing there, and you've got this lovely sort of sculpture, this face at the top. This is believed to be one of the earliest examples of surviving code stone in London. So code stone gets its name from a lady called Eleanor Coade, C-O-A-D-E, a highly successful Georgian craftswoman and business person at a time when this whole world was dominated by men.
So it goes around. Something to eat.
Made from clay, terracotta,
Went around
glass, and it's so hard wearing that many sculptures remain in pristine condition still today. And sculptors love it because got a bit of interference on the line, haven't we? Sorry. I'm sure Lindsay will sort that one out. So let's have a closer look. Let's have this figure at the top. Let's go back one. Right, okay, Leverton House. So you've got, I can't really work out the gender of this character here, but sort of nice sort of longish hair. We look next door at number 12, and it's very, very similar. Only this figure, he or hair. So but what's on the other side? This little, certainly a bloke, isn't it? And a big beard and sort of longish hair. And then you look at number 15, and that is very similar, but not identical. You know, that's, look, you got 14 there, 15 there. It's sort of, you know, number 16. Well, again, that looks numbers sort of similar. Yeah, we're getting a run of blokes here. Number 17, again, very, very similar. One of these days, I'm going to do a whole lap of Bedford Square and sort of try and do a bit of a survey on it. I just find this absolutely fascinating. Yeah, from the late 1700s, it's still beautifully done. Let's now make our way into Tottenham Court Road, once an ancient and important track leading to Highgate and beyond. And it used to be like this. It was a one-way street. And for those of you who know it's a one-way street, it's very easy. So when you want to cross the road, you look left for the traffic coming up. You don't look right because it's a one-way street, and you nearly get knocked over by a bus going the other way. So it's not as safe as it could be. That since Easter 2019, no longer a one-way street, and that is easy to forget. So we're now entering the land of Fitzrovia, this sort of forgotten area. People, well, where is Fitzrovia? The way to find out Fitzrovia, you've got this lovely Streets of Fitzrovia book on the shelf here. Camden History Society, they put this together, and that is, yeah, a fabulous encyclopedia of the Fitzrovia area. But it's expanded now, because Bedford Square, where we were, people are referring to it as East Fitzrovia. Oh my goodness me! Yeah, so so the name Fitzrovia, it has been said, it came from immediately after World War II, when the artists and writers who frequented the Fitzroy Tavern in Charlotte Street, and they were labelled as Fitzrovians. But what I like is this appalling sort of single sort of almost sort of prefab type shops on the left hand side as you go up. And it's easy to forget that they were there once. Let's looking at the other direction. I mean, what a mess! Yeah, and that was as recent as the 1980s. Yeah, and I came along a couple of weeks ago and took a similar shop now, yeah, you can see it now looks more sort of fit for the occasion. But in the 1980s, that was appalling, wasn't it? So our next story involves 17 Tottenham Court Road. So I'm trying to sort of earmark it exactly where 17 Tottenham Court Road is. It's roughly where Boots the chemist is now. Okay, and here we have a catalogue, and it refers to a shop called Chapman's, the largest importers and dealers in the world, set up here in 1922. You think this is getting a bit interesting, isn't it? And then at the top of the page it said, if you are requiring any species of British or foreign birds or animals, the place to go. So you've got a great long list of birds there. Further down the paragraph, you can buy an elephant. You can buy a tiger. You can buy a lion, perhaps, or a leopard, zebras, antelopes, chimpanzees. I mean, goodness me. Yeah. Imagine if you're at work one lunchtime and say, look, I need to pop out lunchtime. I've got to go and get something. I'm fresh out of chimpanzees. And you just, but it's there, and that was a shop. They had a catalogue there, all these animals. Yeah, imagine coming out with a lion on a leash. Yeah. I suppose there's only one way to take them, because further on there was a cafe, and that cafe was called Lion's Corner House. Oh, terrible. And yeah, there was a Lion's Corner House there. Yeah. What used to happen a late afternoon in Tottenham Court Road during the 70s and 80s that everybody stopped and looked up? Do you remember? Do you remember Concord? The roar of Concord. And it seemed to use Tottenham Court Road as like a marker for coming down into Heathrow. It's just this majestic thing. It made such a noise that everybody sort of stopped and looked up. The pavement shuddered. And the buildings rattled a bit, but yeah, it was a real good rumble. But yeah, the regular flights to New York, half the time of all the other airliners. I can't see me surviving too long in one of those things. And another thing, yeah, they thought, oh, what are they building there? Oh, it looks like a helter-skelter. This is going to be good, isn't it? And this started off as known as the Post Office Tower, the communications tower. It took 3 years to build, and they opened it in 1966. And it was the tallest building in London up until the 1980s. I just love, you see there in the foreground, and the advert on the side of the bus. Yeah, drink a pint of milk a day.
Yeah.
I suppose now it's don't drink a pint of milk a day. Cholesterol. Oh, you can't have a pint of milk a day. You can't have that. Yeah. And halfway up Tottenham Court Road, there was this building here. Tottenham Court Road Police Station. We are now into the land of ghost police stations. Okay, so we can talk about it, but we can't see it anymore. This was built in the late 1920s, a substation of Albany Street Police Station, which was just to the north of the Euston Road, the Marylebone Road. Quick slope. And so this police station received fame. 4:30 in the morning, Sunday, the 31st of October, 1971, a bomb exploded right up on the top there, in the gents' toilets, next to the top of the Tower restaurant. And both the IRA and the Angry Brigade, they claimed responsibility for it. They never find out who it was. But blast damage, you got this explosion up high, 400-yard area. All around, and there was damage to buildings, of stuff falling out of the skies. And at 4:30 on a Sunday morning, Tottenham Court Road Police Station, it wasn't exactly awash with coppers. I tell you, if it was 4:30, time to book up. And so there was a sort of a skeleton staff there. My mate Dave was the sergeant in charge, so he rushed out. And it's a crime scene. We've got to preserve the crime scene. Which direction are we going to go? North, south, east, west? It was all over the place. Students were coming out of their halls and residences. Nurses were coming out of the nurses' homes saying, what's going on? Stuff falling out of the sky. Got to keep them safe. Preserve it. And so 4:30, that all started. You had to wait until the senior officer came. On a Sunday morning, you don't get too many senior officers around, so you had to wait a few hours for the senior officer to come. The senior officer finally arrived. And the first thing he said to my mate Dave is, put your helmet on. So there we are. Yeah. Another lovely thing about Tottenham Court Road Police Station, remember these things? Yeah. Mini ice cream vans, aren't they? Yeah. They came to Tottenham Court Road in the early 1970s, and the garage sergeant drove a panda car there, parked it outside the police station, and he was looking for volunteers to become panda car drivers. Not many two people wanted to become a panda car driver because Tottenham Court Road's ground isn't very big, and it's probably easier to sort of walk around it rather than do anything else. But they had to do a driving course, and so the garage sergeant sort of sat in the passenger seat. And one of the willing volunteers was my mate Harry, and he's not much of a driver, but he had a go, and he had a drive around, and the garage sergeant said at the end, he said, well, that was a good drive round, but I'm going to have to fail you here because you mounted the curb 4 times and you frightened a load of pedestrians. So yeah, the panda car came to Tottenham Court Road, really good. Once you sort of see the front of the police station, you don't really know what's at the back, and there are a load of police cells. For some reason, it was like a holding area for prisoners when other police stations have got their cells full up. But in the 1980s, there was the prison officers dispute and a strike there. And so remand prisoners couldn't go back to the prisoners if they were remanded in custody. And so the only place for them was going into the police cells like Tottenham Court Road. And so they had to be looked after. And they were looked after by us bobbies on the beat. So say, for example, I was on an early turn shift at Holborn Police Station, finished at 2 o'clock, and I volunteered to do another 8 hours as one of the world's most expensively paid waiters to look after the prisoners, make sure they were fed, make sure that they were all right. But the thing is, you mustn't be late for duty. And so you're finishing at Holborn at 2 o'clock. You're starting at Tottenham Court Road at 2 o'clock. So something had to give. So there was a fine system for being late, a fine system. And if you were late, you were fined a packet of hobnobs. If you were very late, you were fined a packet of chocolate hobnobs. and they were the rules. Now, Tottenham Court Road Police Station has gone like so many other London police stations, such a shame. And in its place, on this very spot here, there is an M&S food hall. guess what they sell in the M&S food from there? You can go in there and buy your hot dogs again, which I think is ironic. It's gone round in the whole circle. Let's go left into Good Street now, and then we're going to a real sort of bohemian type area. The Spaghetti House. Has anyone had a meal at the Spaghetti House there? Yeah, what an amazing place. The first original spaghetti house in London there, opened in 1955. It was always crowded. And so you go and you see it's all no free tables on the ground floor. You go up to the first floor, and that's packed as well. You go up to the second floor, and that's packed as well. And you get to the top, you think, if I'm going to go any further, I'm going to end up on the roof here. But it was a lovely place, and the food was cheap. And being a poor Bobby on the beat in the early 1970s, for 7 shillings and sixpence, you could get a superb spaghetti bolognese. And if I wanted to impress a lady, I could get a carafe, half a carafe of wine for a few more shillings. Really good. So that's where I did my courting. That's a lovely, good old-fashioned word. They're courting in those days. Let's go down Whitfield Street now, and we're going to have a look at the Hope on the corner of Whitfield Street and Tottenham Street. So this pub's been going around since 1809, would you believe? It's now a pie and ale house and a beer house. But it's got one thing that really sort of appealed to me. So just there, where the red blob is, there is a sign, an old sign, an ancient light sign. Can you see it just next to the light there? Under English property law, back to 1663, before the Great Fire of London, it gives the owner the right to receive light through his or her windows, which sounds a reasonable thing to do, doesn't it? And once that particular window has been used to provide light for 20 years, this act meant that it could no longer be obstructed by any other building. Now, how about that? Ancient light, a sign is there to stop any other buildings going up. And this is believed to be the last remaining sign of its type in London. So someone's going to prove me wrong tonight, but there we are, an ancient light sign there. On the other corner at 13 Tottenham Street, way back at the end of the 1700s, we had this amazing gentleman, Olaudah Equiano. Wow. And the man who helped make the world a better place, a remarkable man with a really remarkable history there. And he was a local resident there at number 13. Born in the mid-1700s, he got captured, became a slave, went to the Americas. He bought his freedom, and he wrote a book. He wrote a book that's. I just need to. Is my thing working again? No, it's not working. There we go. Move that down. The interesting narrative of the life of Olaudah Equiano, or Gustavus Vassa, the African. What a snappy little title that is. The Gustavus Vassa was a name given to him when he was in slavery there. And he highlighted the plight of slaves and slavery around the world. This book became a bestseller, and it helped to lead to the abolition of the Slavery Act in the early 1800s. So a fabulous man, did a lot of good. We now move a bit further on, and we got Scala House. We're moving west along Tottenham Street now. How are we doing for time? We're not doing too badly. It's good. So here we go. This Scala House was once the Scala Theatre, built in 1905 and showed epic silent films and pantomime, like Peter Pan and things like that. And here is a scene from a 1964 film, and it was shot from outside the theatre. An iconic film. We've talked about them already. Hard Day's Night. Oh, you're so good. Really good. Okay, the Beatles' Hard Day's Night, a film about the Fab Four as they travelled from Liverpool to London for a TV performance. I went to see this as a 13-year-old, and it changed my life. I had a love of popular music ever since I've seen that film. It's a horrible film to watch, black and white, grainy and everything. But I saw it again, and the memories come just flooding back. Really, really good. I saw it I think it was Gaumont in Wood Green. Gaumont, right? Yeah, just fell in love with their music. And this is sort of two shots from the film, so you're sort of right close up to the band there and the band members. Really good. And the thing is, that was in 1964. So we're now talking 60 years ago this film came out. You know, it just, for me, it just seems like the other day. And that's the premiere at the London Pavilion in Piccadilly Circus there. And the thing I like about this picture here, not easy to spot, someone's left their step ladder. They've done all the stuff, but they've left their step ladder there, and you've got the sea of people there, and that always tickles me when I look at that. It's quite something there, and that's something you can't show when you're doing a guided tour. But there we are. Right, okay, we're now creeping towards our final stop now, and we're going to keep walking, and we're going to cross Cleveland Street. And those of you who know the borough of Camden, we're on the edge of the borough. And if we go the other side of Cleveland Street, that rings a bell. And yeah, so we're leaving the borough of Camden. We're now going off our beat. We're going to the city of Westminster. So don't tell anyone we're going off our beat. So here we go. We're going to go into Pearson Square. Or is it Fitzroy Place? So that set me sort of the hair's running a bit. So is it Pearson Square or is it Fitzroy Place? And so I went. There's a lovely weekly paper called Fitzrovia News, really good. And I found an old copy 11 years ago, and it was printed there that it said the name Fitzroy Place was used when the site was being developed, and the original name Fitzroy Place was dropped in favour of the new name Pearson Square, but it's still shown as Fitzroy Place. Where's Ruth? I'm sure you got a view on that. But anyway, so it's there, and looking at it from the other end, it still says, you know, up on the wall, you got Pearson Square, Fitzroy Place. So it's really strange. So it's actually named after John Loughborough Pearson, the architect of the Grade 2 listed chapel. Can you see the chapel in the background behind this great lump of granite? Why is there a great lump of granite in the way there? Because this is a massive granite boulder, a sculpture named The One and the Many by Peter Randall Page, inscribed the early systems of writing there, and he's known for his stone and sculpture work. But we've really come to see the chapel here. This was once part of the Middlesex Hospital, and those of you who remember the Middlesex Hospital, you can go into the main entrance, you can do a left, and on the right hand side there was a doorway, and that took you into another doorway, and you're in the chapel there.
I was born in there. Christmas Eve, I was taken in there on Christmas morning at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, there was
in the chapel.
Living proof, yeah. So that is the chapel there. But the amazing thing is that I know the Middlesex Hospital, and you're now seeing the outside. You're seeing the red brickwork for the first time because you had all the building. It was sort of dwarfed. This lovely sort of listed building here. So when they demolished the Middlesex Hospital, they kept the chapel, the Fitzrovia Chapel, as it is now. And you can see, they cleaned up the brickwork there, and it's absolutely lovely. This is the Middlesex Hospital. This is one I know and love, and love being a great word, because this hospital, we've heard about you being born there, but that hospital saved my life. I got into a few rough and tumbles, and for some reason I got a problem with my pancreas, which is quite a difficult thing to do, and I kept getting attacks of pancreatitis in the early 1970s. Which was not particularly pleasant, and I was going in and out of hospital, and they were treating me, and in the end they decided that they wanted to remove my pancreas because it was causing me more harm, and they said, you're better off without it. You're going to be diabetic, but you're artificially diabetic, and we'll look after you, and they have. And I was on the 3rd floor, so on the left hand side there, you can sort of work yourself up. John Astor ward it was. And they saved my life because it was a tricky op, and they did me really proud. That's the front, and the nurses there walking out. I don't know those two nurses, but the nurse, the nurse that looked after me when I was recovering from my operation and looking after my changing my dressings and everything at night time. I had a night nurse, and she always seemed to be there when I woke up. And a very pretty, attractive young nurse. A year later, she became my wife. Yeah. Getting a bit emotional, but there we are. 50 years later, still going strong, and I think that's yeah, a testament, and that is all. So saved my life, gained a wife. I think that's really good. The hospital closed in 2005, merged with the UCH. So I go to the UCH. They look after me now, and they demolished the building apart from the Fitzrovia Chapel. So we're going to end this walk and this talk with the inside of the chapel, and it's described on the website that you must go and visit it, because if you haven't, it's described as the most beautiful room in London that you probably don't know about, which is a lovely way of doing it. And it's a world of light and colour and gold and marble and glass, and it's fascinating. You can spend half an hour in there and you come out a different person. And I think this is a perfect final image as we approach the festive season. Thank you and good night. 50 minutes, it's not bad, is it? I thought I was going to go on for days.
Well, thank you very much, Chris, for a most entertaining talk as usual. Does anyone have any questions or comments they'd like to make?
Anybody else been a patient at the project? That's a good start. Yeah. But a fabulous hospital.
Anyway, the lady with the blue top.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the Scala Theatre what it was that on.
I beg your pardon?
Sorry.
What
Scala Theatre.
what street was the Scala Theatre on?
Oh, Scala Theatre. So what street was it on? Scala Theatre. It was in Tottenham Street. So we went down Whitfield.
Okay.
We went down Whitfield Street to the Hope, and you keep on the left-hand side as you keep going west, and you'll see Scala House. There's a little sign to say that is Scala House, and that's exactly where the theatre was. But if you go on and you Google Hard Day's Night, you can still see scenes from the from there, and you've got Charlotte Place on the other side. The film.
Yeah.
There's a police chase into the theatre again. All black and white, of course. Yeah.
Linda.
You mentioned the old Russell Hotel.
Yes.
If you go into the Russell Hotel onto the second floor up the marble staircase, there is a dragon, a gold dragon, and it's called George the Dragon. Its sister or brother is actually on the Titanic. The bottom,
goodness.
because there were two, and the architect of the Hotel Russell, who did all the interior of the Hotel Russell, did all the interior of the Titanic. So I can't remember his name, but it's easy. So up the stairs.
Charles Gold.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
So there's the dragon up there. The other one is at the bottom
yeah.
of the Atlantic.
No,
the Titanic.
So the
Has everybody on Zoom heard that? The question was
I've
about
got-
Russell
I think
Hotel.
so, 'cause
I've
it's
got
close
actually a
enough, yeah.
picture of it on my phone.
Oh, yeah, it's
On the
beautiful.
thing. I can't remember. Yeah, so the architect of the interior of the Hotel Russell.
And something I
was
found
the
out-
architect of the
Yeah.
interior of the Titanic.
Something I found out for the first time just the other day. If you stand outside the front of the hotel and look at the entrance, above the entrance, the statues of 4 Queens of England, and everybody passes that and don't notice it, but they're there. Yeah,
Exactly.
amazing.
It's just absolutely wonderful. I've got actually video I took on my phone of the interior of that. You must go, as Chris said, it's absolutely beautiful. Really, really
Yeah,
lovely.
and
And it's very, very
it's
old.
now an exhibition space. So there's
Or a
another
wedding
and
venue.
a wedding venue. Yeah. Yeah. There's a exhibition on at the moment of nurses' uniforms through the ages.
Yeah, it's actually based a lot on Byzantium art. You've got all the mosaics, Byzantium.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Really
Absolutely beautiful.
Really.
Anyway, Catherine, are there any questions from anybody on the Zoom call? No.
Have they all gone to bed?
Roger.
They say they're all
Mine's
thanking you.
really in addition to the last lady in the front. In Primrose Hill, we have an Edis Street. And it was Colonel Edis who was the architect of the hotel.
How are we spelling that?
Edis.
Edis. So Captain.
He was Colonel.
A Colonel Idris. So the people on Zoom in Primrose Hill. So what's the connection?
Well, he was the architect of the Hotel Russell.
Yes.
And
Another
we
of
have
them.
a street named after him in Primrose Hill. Presumably he may have lived there. I don't know.
Brilliant.
Oh, well, we are in process of revising Primrose Hill and the Regent's Park Streets book, so we'll see that that is in there. Right, now, I do have a comment which might be slightly off-piste in a way, because you were mentioning about the police station on Tottenham Court Road, and you said it was a sort of sub-police station to the one in Albany Street?
Yeah.
Now, the police station in Albany Street is closed to the public.
Yeah.
So it no longer has its blue
Like
lamp.
so many. Yeah.
And is it correct that can I confirm that when a police station closes, then the blue lamp has to be taken away?
Yeah, that's the go. Yeah.
Yes, and yet it does seem that it seems to be being used for some purpose or other. I mean, there's lights on it in there, and because I've been going past there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a 1960 office block, and they haven't pulled it down, so they might as well use it for something. I've no idea what they're using it for.
I see.
So
not necessarily not necessarily police related, or should?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I wouldn't think it'd be police related.
Okay.
No. But I'll give you another little subplot to that. If you go on the other side of the road and walk down towards Gray's Inn Road, the building on the corner was Gray's Inn Road Police Station, and you can see engraving that there's some steps that lead absolutely nowhere, and that you've got police engraving, and above where it says police, there's two big screw holes where the blue lamp was. I'd like to know who's got that.
Right. Anybody? Any more questions?
That's the
lady.
You got it.
You again?
That's the Lucky George,
Something else?
Oh, fantastic.
and it's that's the architect who designed it.
Sorry.
We'll have a look later. Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
Oh, the ancient.
What street was that on?
Oh, yes, the ancient lights sign.
The Ancient Lights, yes.
On what street?
That is in Whitfield Street.
Whitfield
Yeah,
Street.
on the corner of the Hope Public House.
Okay.
Now,
But you said that changed. You said it's an ale house or something now?
It's a pub, but it's a pie and ale house.
Okay. Oh, yeah, ale house, yeah.
Just an advertising
the
gimmick.
man with the green
Yeah,
cardigan.
Chris, you know the Whitfield Chapel?
Yes.
It looks like a new building. Was that a rebuild of an earlier building?
What the Fitzrovia Chapel? This one?
No,
No,
the
no,
Whitfield
the-
Chapel. The one you mean the one in Tottenham Court Road?
Oh, the Whitfield
Well,
Chapel.
yes.
Yeah.
Building looks like modern building.
Yeah, it is. That area got well bombed in the Second World War. So, as far as I'm aware, that there was I've got to start reading this book again. There was a place of worship there, and it's been redone.
Because there's a bit on the left-hand side of it that is just nothing. It's just that they've left it open. And then I just wondered about it. It looked to me as if it's probably a rebuild or something.
Yes.
Well, that whole area has been nicely tidied up because they've got a garden there, where it was a bit rough there at one time, wasn't it?
Right when that gentleman died, you know, the slave gentleman, his grave was lost because of the bombing there as well. He lost his grave because there was a burial field there.
Yes, and no, we've got a plaque there in
Yeah,
relation to
yeah.
that, haven't we? So yes, we're
Yeah.
talking about Alado Equiano, the fact that he
Oh,
was
yes,
buried
yeah,
there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's
It's lovely that he's been
Lost.
recognised. Yeah.
because of the bombing in the war.
Just a quick comment really about Code Stone. I mean, it is extraordinary.
Yes.
It is everywhere. We stayed in a house in Lyme Regis, which Mrs. Code owned, and
Oh, really?
she has that amazingly decorated. But she was an extraordinary woman.
Yeah.
I mean, she ran a huge business at the time when, as you say, men were actually running it. And all round this area, Code Stone has made an enormous difference to to the basics, you know, and which look fabulous still.
Yeah.
Yes.
And nobody quite knows what the composition. They haven't tried to reanalyze it backwards. I think people.
I think it was a secret recipe from what we can gather.
Secret
We had a-
recipe,
But like a cocktail.
Yes. Yes, we had a talk many years, about 30 plus years ago, all about Codestone.
Okay.
I do sort of rough recollection that it was a secret recipe that she had. Anyway,
Fabulous. Yeah. Bedford Square.
Yeah.
Another fascinating bit about Bedford Square.
anyway, shall I draw proceedings to a close? And thank Chris again very much for his most entertaining
Absolute pleasure.
presentation.